We're here on the waters of Northern Ireland. That right there is Dragonstone, and you're listening to Off the Wall.
Hello there and welcome along to Off the Wall. It is the weekend, the very last weekend before Game of Thrones is back on our television screens for the last time ever. Season 8 is on our doorstep this Sunday night if you want to step up late or stay up late, or if you want to watch it on Monday night as well, Irish time. This is all with thanks to Discover Northern Ireland. It's Owen here. Sue is here. Welcome to Off the Wall.
I know.
It's your first time on Off the Wall since Christmas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Christmas. I forgot about Christmas. Yeah, I was very ill.
Great episode available on youtube.com/Off the Ball. And Tommy Rooney's here.
Hey guys. But the brains is here, that's the most important part. The brains of Off the Wall.
Me, yeah.
Sue Murphy is here.
Sue Murphy came up with Off the Wall.
I thought you were giving yourself a compliment there, sorry.
Come on, I'm not like that.
It was all Sue's idea. As soon as she came back to work for Off the Wall.
Like, nobody came up with an idea for a Game of Thrones podcast ever before me.
No, never. A very original idea, and congratulations. You might notice that Andy Lee is not with us in studio. You will be hearing plenty from Andy over the course of the next 30 or 40 minutes, because we have been in Northern Ireland with thanks to Discover Northern Ireland over the past few days. We've been up looking at the brand new Game of Thrones exhibition in the Titanic district. It is amazing, but most importantly, we've been speaking to some of the cast, and we had a pretty good time. The place up there is absolutely sublime, and I want to go back immediately, and I know that after season 8, when I'm getting withdrawal symptoms from Game of Thrones, I want to go back time and time again.
Definitely, it was class.
Absolutely beautiful.
It was so good. And the best part of it was that we were after coming back from 2 days up north with Andy Lee, and he was like a child. When
excited.
When you pull up, so Sue was driving us around the north, you had the hard job, I was the co-pilot, didn't do my job very well. We got lost a couple of times, but when you pull into the car park for the exhibition, the kind of the secret press conference that we attended on,
oh my gosh,
on Wednesday,
I was so excited at that point.
Andy was like, come on Sue, park the car, come on. He hops out of the car and like he spotted something in the distance that may or may have not have had something to do with the set, and he started freaking. He was oh my God, what does that mean? What does that mean?
It is a spoiler.
We discovered one huge spoiler, and we can't reveal to you because, you know, we've been trusted by the good old people of HBO to not tell you. I think they kind of realised midway through the day, oh crap, there's something that's visible from the car park that gives away a huge spoiler. We will tell you later on in the season, maybe, if they relax.
You can find it online if you really want to. Like, I looked it up, and
people seen it?
Other people have seen it. Like, as in, like, there was a photo of this thing with an arrow pointing down, and I was like, oh my God.
Other people saw it in Belfast yesterday?
No, it was somebody else had taken a photo. It wasn't from yesterday.
Okay.
It was definitely a spoiler from before.
But I should say that there will be spoilers and theories and sometimes potentially leaks as well throughout this episode. So please stop here if you don't want anything to be revealed. But please do come join us on this journey for the next half an hour or so if you want to hear everything and get all the gossip before season 8. We're going to have a chat about what we think is coming up very, very shortly indeed. But I think it's time to look at what some of the cast are saying. Andy Lee has been catching up with Bran Stark. He's been catching up with Ser Davos, and he's been catching up with Meryn Trant. Starting with Bran Stark here. Have a look at this.
Isaac, thank you for joining us here on Off the Wall. Tell us about Bran and his character arc. Going from this kind of bright-eyed young kid to becoming the free-eyed raven. It's been 7 seasons, but it's been a huge change in his, I guess, personality, his character, and every aspect of him.
He's had an extraordinary arc. I mean, from the very first moment, he's kind of set up as a character who's got no chance. He's a disabled 10-year-old in one of the harshest universes ever created. His home gets burnt down, his family all get killed, and all of a sudden he's having these weird visions that are taking him off to one of the most dangerous territories there are. And he triumphs. He becomes the Three-Eyed Raven, one of the most powerful and important and pivotal characters in the whole world. And I just think it's this fabulous story of one of these characters whose weapon is not anything physical. Bran is a weak character. He wouldn't survive for 2 seconds in a fist fight in Game of Thrones land. And yet he wields this extraordinary, important power, and I think it's a great message and a great story arc.
And in terms of becoming the Three-Eyed Raven, do you think, or do you read it as that was always predestined?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was kind of, ever since Bran fell off that tower and it opened his third eye, that was his destiny. There was this. Yeah, it's all kind of predetermined.
I know you can only tell us so much about season 8. So when he or if he does meet Jamie Lannister again, does he blame him for that, or does he feel like, I don't know?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, was it all meant to be?
Again, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask Bran, but I think Bran's attitude to most things are, this is the way things have had to happen to get to this stage. But I suppose it depends.
And how does Bran come to terms with Hodor? You know, it's the biggest reveal in in TV history, maybe, you know, the fact that Hodor could only say Hodor. Yeah. And the reason for that was that he was more or less used to save your life.
Well, I mean, again, I think Bran's perspective on that would be he'd be devastated. But the Three-Eyed Raven, that's what Hodor had to do, because it's more important, unfortunately, for the Three-Eyed Raven to survive. The Three-Eyed Raven is who keeps all of time, who holds it in his mind, and he would just view it as that was what had to happen. That was the end of Hodor's timeline, and that's the way it is.
And his relationship with Mira Reed and Judge Reed, and then in the final scene with Mira, he's quite mean to her. Would you say that was purposely to get her out of Winterfell?
No, obviously not.
So that she doesn't have to face the White Walkers?
No, it's
giving him too much credit.
Yeah, he doesn't think like that. He's emotionless. He just sees things in terms of what's important, and he's thankful to Mira, but he exists on a higher plane. He exists in a more important world.
And what is important to him? What's the end game for Bran?
I think the survival of humankind. He is one of the spokespersons, I guess, for the living rather than the dead, and one of the, I suppose, ancient nemesis of the Night King, and so I think he certainly wants the living to triumph.
Isaac, thank you for your time. One question before you go, and I know you're going to give us a good answer. Is Bran the Night King? How many times have you been asked?
Too many.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thanks. Cheers.
You're very welcome along to the Game of Thrones exhibition, where we've got some pretty lifelike statues. We'll start with a couple of the White Walkers here. He was just a regular white, but he's wearing what seems to be the Night King's armour. Then we've got another White Walker here who doesn't seem to be wearing any armour. We've got a statue here of Game of Thrones superfan Andy Lee, former world champion boxer as well. We've got the White Giant over here, and then we've got the King of Bones over here. And this is pretty good. All the statues looking pretty lifelike, I think it's fair to say.
Liam, thank you very much. Tell us about your time playing Ser Davos. You know, how he developed from like this kind of secondary character. Now he's one of the main men.
Well, you know what? I think the producers got to like him because there's so much. I use the term moral ambiguity in this. In other words, there's some bad swines in this show, right? And they kind of needed something. I mean, he's been described as the moral compass of the piece, you know, and I always think he spoke up for the audience. Yeah, that's how I felt about him. That he was kind of going, you can't do this madness. This is bad. Whatever you're trying to do.
There's been several times in the show when you've made huge speeches to the Iron Bank, to the Northerners on behalf of kings that really swayed it, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was. He speaks the truth and he speaks simply, you know. And he's from a very humble beginnings, but he's never overwhelmed by any of this. He's only overwhelmed when people want to do the wrong things for what they think is the right reasons. And, you know, that kind of holds the mirror up to society in a way, you know what I mean?
How do you think he will react when he sees, if he sees Melisandre again? You'll be doing a bit of boxing yourself.
I might be coming out of retirement myself.
Tell me, you said he's not a fighter, you know, he said himself, I'm not a fighter, but will he see any action, do you think, in season 8?
I'm hearing rumours there might be a lot of action in season 8. Anything more than that, I'd have to kill both of us, I told you.
Liam, thanks very much. Pleasure.
I'm Owen Sheehan, we're in the throne room, and this is Off the Wall.
Ian, thanks for joining us on Off the Wall.
You're very welcome.
Tell us about what we're here today for the Game of Thrones exhibition.
Yes, this isn't the first time I've been at the exhibition. I've actually had the pleasure of opening it 3 times in 3 different places. Brilliant. But this one is really special because it's Belfast, and Game of Thrones, our home is in Belfast and in Northern Ireland, so it's particularly special to be here today. And there are some new items in the display that I haven't seen before that are absolutely fantastic. The dragon's heads and the Stark crypt. Yeah. So I think the fans are going to get a real pleasure coming to this exhibition.
Yeah, we walked around, we saw the head of Balerion the Black.
Yeah.
Aegon's dragon.
Yep. No, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. The uniforms themselves, my own suit of armour is in there, and it brings back very, very happy memories.
Tell us about your time playing Meryn Trant.
It was the most wonderful gig ever.
Even though he was...
Oh, he was...
Well, how would you describe him?
Misunderstood. No, he was a terrible man. I mean, I found the only redeeming feature I found was his loyalty to Cersei Lannister.
Yeah.
That was the only positive I found in the man. Apart from that, he was just wretched in every single possible way. But he was great fun to play.
Yeah.
And also, working on Game of Thrones was just the most amazing, wonderful experience. It was like being part of a family. This big, huge, incredibly talented, slightly dysfunctional family. And when you left it, it hurt.
And are there any particular scenes or episodes for you that stand out, what you were involved in?
I remember one of my favourite episodes was Tyrion's trial. And it took 4 days to film. I was first up giving evidence against him. And I had the unique pleasure and privilege of watching Peter Dinklage give that final speech about 6 or 7 different times, and he did it perfectly every single time. He was absolutely stunning, and I was just sitting there looking at him. You're brilliant. So that was great fun.
Yeah, and for the people at home, while you were on stage there, you talked about auditioning for a role initially.
That's
not
right.
getting it,
not being too happy about it. Yes, but as it turned out, I was very, very lucky because the role was Jory Cassell, and he only lasted 5 episodes in season 1, whereas 5 years later I was still going. So that was a real bit of luck.
And your death scene is probably one of the most brutal death scenes in Game of Thrones in terms of the shock of it to see Arya do that.
Yep, and it was her first real proper vengeance kill. So I was very, very proud to be a part of that. Interestingly enough, my first day on set ever in Game of Thrones, we were filming the fight scene with Cyril Farrell, the wonderful Miltos.
Yes, when you attack him, yeah.
And Maisie was there, this wee cute kid. And then my last day on set was also with Maisie.
So you saw the transition, yeah.
It was a nice closing of the circle.
Yeah.
The begin and end with Maisie.
Can you tell us, did Cyril make it out of the room?
I asked the question. I asked David, I said, look, I've heard some rumours here, and before I could finish the sentence, he said, he's dead. And he gave me a very, very good reason for it. He could have run, and Arya actually, I've saw the scene again recently, and Arya suggested that he run, and he replied, the first sword of Bravos does not run.
Yes.
He was saving Arya's life. He was giving his own life to save Arya's, and that was why the producers pretty much said, no, he dies.
Ian, thank you for your time. You're fantastic.
Thank you very
Meryn
much
Trant.
indeed. Thanks
Brilliant.
very much.
Really
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Ian Beattie, more commonly known as Sir Meryn Trant, there speaking to Andy in his very dulcet Ulster tones.
A Belfast boy.
Yeah,
Belfast
he was a character, wasn't he? Yeah.
So proud of where he's from, as he probably should be. Like, it's we were kind of discussing this with another guy, Jamie, who we'll bring in an interview with later on, that you talk about the legacy of a film on a place or a television show on a place, and I don't know, maybe New Zealand was a huge tourist destination before The Lord of the Rings, but I definitely think The Lord of the Rings gave it that push out into the open, and then after The Lord of the Rings it kind of stood on its own 2 feet as this amazing tourist destination. And you definitely get the sense that Northern Ireland as a place is beautiful enough to do something similar in the next couple of decades.
I definitely felt that from the tour guides that we had over the last couple of days as well, who kept saying people seem to go into Northern Ireland and they go to the Giant's Causeway and they don't move to all these amazing other places that are around, because that's the big thing that people go and look at.
Oh, I did that.
But but I think that's naturally what everyone does, but I think this is now moving that out.
20 miles east of all these remarkable...
It's not just Game of Thrones, it's like you get there and you're like, forget for a second this is a set. This is stunning.
Yeah.
Like, some of it looked like a Microsoft Office screensaver. It's that beautiful. Like, somebody thought that was a photo that I put up, and I was like, no, that is actually a place. It's just so beautiful. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Must have been a good photograph. Must have taken it well.
Yeah, it was someone at Slavers Bay, and somebody said to me that it looked like a Microsoft Office screensaver. I was like, no, it's actually...
I love that part. We're up in the mountain. I think we'll bring a bit with Flip Robinson later on.
Oh, but Flip.
Do you know the part where we hopped out of the van and we were chasing the wee lambs? And,
the wee lambs.
And you're just up there on top of the mountain and you're looking down onto the sea, and Scotland's 10 miles away, and you're just kind of getting this unbelievable landscape. It was just gorgeous, and we had such good weather. It was
we were really lucky. Like, we've been up there before with like sheets of rain, like when you're like, oh, I'm not enjoying this.
Just on that, the big thing that I think we all kind of noticed, and you might laugh about it the odd time, but like these non-disclosure agreements that they've all signed, but none of them are going to break them. None of them want it, because they all have so much respect for what HBO and what Game of Thrones have brought the region, and it's very evident when you're up there with them. They all have such pride about it.
Yeah, and fair play to Andy for actually having the balls to ask Bran Stark if he is the Night King. Like we've been discussing this in episode 1 and 2 quite a bit. See, what do you think?
If he's the Night King?
Yeah.
I definitely think there's some kind of time loop, and I got a bit obsessed last night when I got home and started watching it, and so Andy gave me suggestions for YouTube channels, and you end up going down a rabbit hole and there's no coming back. But there was one in particular, a very interesting one. I don't know if I give away spoilers here. I'm going to say
absolutely. They know. Everybody at home knows.
So it was a whole theory about the Mad King, and that Bran has actually got we know that he kind of has the ability to kind of interfere with the past, because he speaks to his father before he goes up to see Lyanna, and he's talking to the Mad King, and that's where the voices start for the Mad King, and he's actually trying to warn the Mad King about the White Walkers coming down. And we know that Brandon Stark, who was the builder of the wall, wasn't able to walk. So there's that whole, you kind of get to a point where you're like, was he actually able to interfere with the past, and is he the time loop? Is that the final twist? There seems to be a connection between him and every significant moment in the history of Westeros. And I'm only starting to figure it out, because I've like you, I've gone back to start watching the original episodes, and I'm really starting, like, I pause now on all his visions, on every single thing, and I'm like, what are you seeing? And it's the past, the present, and the future. But he's interfering with the past every time, because he's actually... Well, the Hodor story proves that he can interfere with the past, and he can change the course. And the Night King saw him. So one more theory, because we love theories here. Cersei, you've heard something, or you've read something, or you've spotted something, or come up with something crazy. Down the rabbit hole last night as well. I'm becoming Andy Lee. I'm becoming next level obsessed. Well, somebody has to fill the void.
Andy melted my brain over the last year. I want to hear the phrase time loop one more time. Andy, can we talk about the Night King, the time loop? I can't do it anymore. Anyways, go on. What's Cersei's fate. So we were discussing about, like, basically, there's a rumour, a spoiler. If you don't want to know these things, please turn off now. That the miscarriage, that she miscarries the baby, but that actually happens at the end of season 7, and they cut it out and put it into season 8 because they thought it was a good start for season 8. But we were talking about her fate and what happens to her. But there was rumours that Jon comes down as far as King's Landing, and the rumour is that she has kidnapped Sansa out of Winterfell, and she has taken Sansa as a hostage, and that he's come down to parley with her to see if he can get Sansa to return back to Winterfell. So who kidnapped Sansa? Who's the agent acting on behalf? Is it Tyrion? The thing that I'm thinking about is, where's Bronn? Where is Bronn? Nobody really knows where Bronn is or what he's doing. He hasn't really figured that highly in the trailers. He's always made it very, very clear, I only care about money, I only care about my castle. If Cersei's going to promise him a castle, does he really care about anything else that happens? Yeah, it's true. Is he going to go after somebody in the north? So you think Bronn is going to capture Sansa early on this season? I wonder what's going to... But it's just that'd be a really interesting turn of events. And the other thing that I think everyone knows is that she will be killed by her younger brother in the prophecy. And I think that will be Jamie. You seem convinced that it's Jamie and not Tyrion. Yeah, I think they've set it up. They've set it up to make you think that it's going to be Tyrion, but I think it's going to be Jamie in the end, because that's the ultimate betrayal, as far as she's concerned. Is that Jamie will be the one that'll kill her. Right, he's a Kingslayer. They call him the Kingslayer all the way through. I think it's a foreshadow to, not only is he going to be the one that kills the Mad King, but he's going to put an end to the Mad Queen, because she's going to get crazier as the episodes go on. Interesting stuff. I hadn't actually heard that one. That's a good theory. So Sansa. I say one more theory, and I swear I'll be joined. When we went in yesterday and they showed the video for the centre, they put Tyrion front and centre of the video as one of the main players, and I never thought of him as somebody who could sit in the throne. I always thought of him as somebody who was just a player that was going to put somebody onto it. Yeah. And then I went, wait a second, is Tyrion a main player? He absolutely could, couldn't he? And I couldn't believe it, because the whole video is set up to be an introduction to the main players who are going to sit in the throne or may sit in the throne. This is the Game of Thrones. And Cersei has lost all her kids. Yeah. So there's no apparent heir as long as Jamie and Cersei are taken out of the picture. And we still suspect that Tyrion can ride a dragon, don't we? Yes. Yes. And that's still in the mix, you know? Yeah. That he could be a Targaryen. Yeah. Right, okay, so Sansa to get captured, Tyrion for the throne, and Bran to appear in every single moment of history. Start the bloody series already. So there's no more theories, there's no more leaks, there's no more suspected what could happen. It is great though, it's class. I love doing it. I love doing the theorising. I'm not allowed to do it at home, like Mick won't let me talk to him about it, so this is my safe space. Brilliant. There's plenty of theorising coming up with a man who knows plenty about it in just a moment, but before that, we're going to take you out on the boat for a couple of moments here, because myself and Andy were chatting about Dragonstone. Alright, we're out here north of the coast of beautiful Antrim. What have we got behind us, Andy?
We have the beach at Dragonstone, scene of where Jon arrived to meet Daenerys, and he brought Ser Davos with him. Also where Theon kind of got his manhood back, got his esteem back when he kind of had a fight with the other Ironborn and said he's going to rescue his sister. But just a beautiful scenery and beautiful coastline, and a pleasure to be out here.
Right, it's time to get back to our tour up north with thanks to Discover Northern Ireland. A beautiful place with a great tour guide. Flip Robinson is this guy's name. He was the body double for Hodor.
Hodor. Yeah.
And for the Mountain at one stage.
Not a body double for the Mountain. I put that to him in this, but he's actually out of shot.
He stands in the frame.
Yeah. So they're looking up at him,
Creates the eye line for the Mountain.
Yeah, so
he's off eating chicken.
Right after we scared away a load of sheep and their newborn lambs, we had this chat with Flip. So Flip, we've just got here and we've scared all the sheep away. We're high in the mountains. Scotland is over there, but most importantly, this is Game of Thrones country.
This is Game of Thrones territory. This is the real world Westeros. Easy to say. So this is the real world Westeros, and here we are in Stormland. Bit sunny today, right? Whenever they filmed here, it was a bit of a grey, overcast, blowy, wet, drizzly day. You know, the ones we're used to here. But this is actually where Renly and Stannis had their parley in season 2, just before. Well, they were sort of like, "I'm the king of the North." No, I'm the king of the North, and then they were going to fight about it the next day. But you know, no spoilers, or should I say spoiler alert, because I'm going to spoil it for some maybe. But then Melisandre put pay to that with a shadow creature, remember?
Yeah, fairly dramatic scene and a fairly brutal death on that occasion.
So tell me, who's your favourite character?
Well, you know, Tyrion. All right, the other end of the scale from my height, but Tyrion is just amazing. The one-liners that he comes out with, you know, it's just amazing. But I do have to say, Hodor, really. I mean, I've studied him quite a bit, as you imagine, you know, then hang out with Hodor tours nowadays. But so Hodor is just, I think he's a great guy, you know.
I have to ask you, tell me what your theory is around the hold the door thing.
Oh, well, I mean, of course, you know, that was what he was programmed for, you know, way back when he was a kid. Really, that was it. You are going to hold the door, and that's.
So he knew that was going to happen.
He must have known it in there, you know. But obviously, Mira instructed him, hold the door, as she took Bran to safety, you know. But I do think he'd been programmed, really, you know. That was set up. It's just obviously everything else taken out of his brain, and that was left, you know.
There you go.
This is where Davos brought her in a little boat. Step ashore here, and then brought her into this part. And the birthing.
Yeah, well,
the maternity ward.
King's blood, didn't she?
Maternity ward.
She needed King's blood. Is that where they got the blood from Gendry? Whereas
Gendry will feature quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's probably stopped rowing now.
Oh yeah, he's back. Yeah.
So he's back. But so she was gonna off Gendry, you know, because she'd sussed out from the leeches, remember, that he'd got this royal blood. Yeah. So then Davos, bless him, got him to freedom, you know, trying to teach a blacksmith quickly how to row.
Gendry says to Rob, to John, our fathers were great friends, we should be good friends. You know, when they meet in the cave of Dragonstone. But actually, their fathers were enemies, because John's father was really Rhaegar, and not Ned. So it was actually wasn't true, you know.
I wonder will he be more shocked by that than the fact that he's been riding his aunt. Okay, so we're here across the way from the Cushenden Hotel. We're in the incredible spot that is Cushenden. As you can probably hear, we're right beside the seaside. We've been to Pike, we've been to Dragonstone, we've been to the maternity ward, Melisandre's maternity ward in the cave. It's been an incredible day. As you can see, Sue, Andy and Tommy are with me here. What did you make of today, Sue? First of all, your quick thoughts on what you've seen over the past couple of hours. Some insane scenery and remarkably some of the scenes that have been barely touched.
Yeah, it's such an amazing experience to drive around this coast. Me and Tommy were just saying on the way back here, they've totally done their job. We'll definitely come back, and that's what you want people to do, is not just experience the Game of Thrones stuff, but everything else. It's just so beautiful around here.
Have you got any spoilers today?
We got a couple. I'm not sure if we can reveal them. Yeah, I don't know if we can reveal our source.
It's definitely not Flip, who's looking at us right now, looking at the camera, whose laugh you can hear, pushing away Flip. Definitely not him.
Flip from Giant Tours, who we highly recommend. Yeah, Sean has a great day around.
We know that Hodor isn't coming back, or do we?
No,
we don't know.
The thing is that, when you watch Game of Thrones, you're so immersed because the sets are so big. But a huge part of the show is the landscapes, and the environments, and it makes it totally believable when you can see this world that they've created. Like, and you just come here when you're driving around, and we were lucky enough to get on a boat and see from that perspective. You're in it. You know what I mean? You're in Game of Thrones. Well, you're in Westeros. You're in whatever it is. You know, you're in the north. You're in the Stormlands. You're there. You're on the Iron Islands, and it's
not much of a Stormland weather today, though. It has to be said.
Well, it was choppy on the seas. It was choppy on the seas, and it was unbelievable just looking up at Dragonstone. What's it called? Fairview. Fairhead Cliffs. It was gorgeous, and like I think we've all kind of been up this side of the country, but I've been to the Giant's Causeway and the Dunluce Castle in recent years, but never come this way. It's absolutely unbelievable.
What about you? Did you get any spoilers today?
No, I didn't get any spoilers, but I'm still thinking about that fireplace in the in the trailer. Daenerys that I can't get over.
You're convinced it's the Iron Islands, aren't you?
I'm convinced it's because if you think those guys can't swim, that's where you go, right?
So Dragonstone's also an island.
Yeah.
We've basically seen a very pivotal part of the conclusion today, I dare say. We have been reliably informed, not by Flip, that there has been some filming going on in these parts for season 8.
Flip did not inform us. Disclosure.
Like there has to be some sort of pivotal reason why they're here. Like, it may be not important, but I think just because we're surrounded by so much water here, this is going to be, in terms of the narrative, so bloody important into how they manage to wrap this thing up.
I think it's something to do with Melisandre, actually. I think it's something to do with the caves.
She gets some king's blood.
Yeah.
From one of the lads.
I feel like there's a connection there with that cave and why she came here and she'll come back.
Does the Night King have blood? That is the question.
Blue blood.
Ice.
Is that what we're going to conclude with today? That she cannot get blood from the Night King?
Well, you're convinced that the Night King is going to end up sitting there in the Iron Throne. Is it Andy who's convinced?
Maybe now. I think I might change my death chart. Even though I'm going to change it week by week so that I do end up right.
Who are you changing now? Who are you sticking there?
I'm putting the Night King on the throne.
Okay.
Him or Tyrion.
I want the Night King to win. I don't really think he will, but I really want him to win. Yeah. I'm starting to think that, after meeting great people who work on the show and have toured people around, they wouldn't do that to us. Great people like Flip wouldn't be part of that. They surely wouldn't do that to us. I don't know. We will update our death chart as it's known over the next couple of weeks. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here in the beautiful little area of Cushington?
Not really.
Nothing more to say.
Come see it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, you have to be here.
Do the tours. Like, don't do this. Don't drive up those hills by yourself. It is fucking dangerous. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, all going well. This will make it to your television screens in the next couple of days. Thanks to Flip, we'll get back over these mountains. Yeah, that's the four of us chatting in the beautiful surrounds of Cushington with thanks to Discover Northern Ireland. A brilliant trip we had. Just a couple of more things to round off on. We picked up a few new skills. We could go back in time ourselves. We could be Bran Stark ourselves, go back to medieval times potentially and pick up a bow and arrow, couldn't we?
Absolutely. Well,
can't do it fast enough.
Did you get a bullseye, Tommy?
Am I allowed to say I got a bullseye?
No,
not on video?
there's no witness.
There's no witness, it's not on video.
Doesn't count.
I stood there and they were like, sure, you want to get a photo? Oh, you got a photo for me, didn't you? The photo doesn't even
You did get a photo.
I got the photo. But they were like, do you want to do it again here? And I was like, yeah, I'll get it later on, no problem.
You were very overly confident. That was what went wrong there.
What happened was, when we were on a timer, I don't generally get rattled under pressure. I panicked.
The timer was really hard. Because you have to do the setup where you're facing the wall, you have your structure, like your elbows out, you're making sure this is long, and doing all of that together in one quick is so hard.
Yeah.
Like, you were grand, but I was really struggling.
Andy Lee was definitely doing a bit of shadow boxing.
Yeah, I love the way Andy's just naturally talented at
playing it easy early on.
Well, to be fair, if there's one man who's going to be good at going like this in emotion, probably a former world champion boxer is going to be okay at moving his elbow in that direction.
I love when he went up as well and he was like, what do you want to use, your left or your right hand? And he was like, box with my left hand a bit. A bit.
It was great crack.
Brilliant crack.
Really good.
As I say, this whole thing was with thanks to Discover Northern Ireland, 2 hour sponsors here at Off the Wall. Let's see how we got on in the archery game.
No! Draw! Loose!
How's that, lads?
Oh, Andy Lee, bullseye!
Right in the middle.
Great start. Next arrow. No! I said draw yet.
Draw! Loose!
Oh, I'm after fucking that up.
Yeah, getting
Andy, did you hit it again?
That's about a millimetre from the bullseye here, so you can already see front runner going here. No! Roll! Loose! No!
No, this is too fast.
Roll! Loose! Stop, 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 stop. That was a 0 pointer on the end there. So, yeah.
What was I?
50, so that's a 50 knocked off from the
end
end there.
no.
Too slow. Last arrow. Knock! Draw! Loose! Stop, 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 stop.
I fucked it up.
What are you trying to get the giant now? Is that it, like? So let's see here, folks. So how have we got on?
Oh, Andy's walked out. Owen's got it.
I think so. We got here. Tommy's got, well, this 50 point was a 0 pointer. 150 points down in the end here. Over here, Sue, we have 50 points in the middle. Over here, Owen, we have 25, 25, 25. And there we go. That's 125 here. And then down in the end, great shooting. 100, 200, 250, 275.
Wow. Andy Lee.
Nice.
I just put it down for you.
So that's pretty much all we got time for on episode 3 here of Off the Wall. I guess the last thing we have to do, because the next time we'll see you is after episode 1 of season 8. We're going to get some quick predictions before we go for episode 1. Andy, we'll start with you. Anything dramatic going to happen? Is it just going to be a scene set of an episode?
Reunions, set the scene. I think Jamie will turn up in Winterfell. I think the White Walkers they'll get wind of the White Walkers, and they might hear about my archery competition, my archery skills.
You might get recruited.
Yeah.
Let's hope for that. What do you reckon?
I reckon Winterfell's going to fall in the first episode.
First episode?
Yeah, and I reckon
that's not going to happen.
And like I'm really conscious that there's somebody who was part of season 8 about like a few feet away from me is going, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I just have a really bad feeling about Winterfell, especially off the back of some of the trailers. Now I don't know if they're visions or dreams, but I'm very conscious that some people are going to fall.
Right. Okay.
Like if you think about it, it's 6 episodes.
And
there's a lot of people to die.
There's no time for slow episodes here. They're going to start with a bang.
We've been reliably informed that season 3 is when that's all going to happen, and that the Battle of Winterfell. Episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I think you're going to have a build up now, but I honestly thought from the trailer you're going to have a dramatic thing happen in Winterfell.
Right. So you're going 10 on the scale of 1 to 10 of drama. You're going for about 2 or 3. Tommy,
I'm going for 8. I'm going for 8 here.
And tension between certain people and setting the tone and building up to a big episode. But there'll still be some good stuff along the way.
Yeah.
What are you going for?
We got 2 good spoilers though, didn't we?
Yeah,
and we can't talk about them.
Why not?
But because we can't, because it's speculation, and I don't want to reveal to them because you're pretty sure, Andy's pretty sure about one of them, and another was kind of slightly not meant to give to us. So
episode 4 next week, and I'm going to give all the spoilers.
But you spotted it. You spotted it. Nobody told you it. You saw it. Yeah, I saw it. So you're drawing your own conclusions from it.
No, I know. Well,
so Andy can put himself out here. Andy's not hanging anyone out to dry if he says it. Don't.
Don't.
We'll never be let back.
Too late in the episode to open this can of worms. We'll get to it in episode 4 of Off the Wall.
We've regurgitated enough Reddit threads for people at home, I think, to give away spoilers. So that is us. We're not going to give you any more spoilers. Do enjoy episode 1. We'll be back on Monday. It'll actually be Adrian in here on Monday. I'm not going to be in the country. I'll be watching it abroad because I need to get on US time to watch it. We certainly won't be here. We'll be back in our far more ugly but still beautiful studio. I don't think we're going to be able to beat this for a studio. Thank you very much to Discover Northern Ireland and to everybody who's helped us out over the past couple of days. This has been Off the Wall. We'll see you next week.